Hey, my name's Riley. In this video, we're going to talk about the 6 things you need to do to your lawn care website to get it higher in the Google search results and ultimately to help you find more people and get them on your website. That's what we're going to talk about. So before we jump into this, and we're not going to get too technical, we're going to focus on the key ideas. So if you're working with somebody, you can send these to them, or if you are doing this stuff yourself, you can take these same ideas and go implement them. So here on the screen, these are the 6 things that we're going to talk about on the website with timestamps in case you want to skip through or come back to the video and refer to it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. So the first thing any website needs to look at is their page title and descriptions. And that's going to look a little bit like this. When somebody is searching on Google, this is going to be your page title, and then this is your description down here. These need to have keywords in them. And this is going to be a kind of a long-term discussion we have in this video where keywords play a role in how Google perceives and sees your website. Google is looking for these keywords and these terms throughout your website to understand what you do, where you do it, and a number of other factors as well. So if you're trying to perform lawn care in McKinney, Texas, you need to make sure that you have McKinney, Texas somewhere on your website, lawn care, and probably a few times as well. Now, you don't want to keyword stuff, and keyword stuff is basically going over to your website and just pasting every single city in this big blob of text where it doesn't make sense to the reader and it doesn't sound natural. What you ultimately want to do when it comes to placing keywords on your website is make it sound natural. Don't stuff it everywhere. It's like just put them where they need to go and Google will figure it out. So things like the cities that you serve, the services that you offer, like this is a good representation of how you would potentially do it. And as we talk about later in the video, you may even build pages for each city or service that you offer. And there are benefits to that. So make sure that you nail down the title and the description of your website, and not just for the homepage, for every page you build. So whether it be something like this where you just have a ton of pages, each page needs to have a custom title and description, or maybe you're just a little bit more simple, but you still have individual pages. You want to make sure that you tweak those page titles and descriptions. And as we're talking through here, we've already mentioned keywords. In one other place that you have to think about keywords isn't just in the content of your website here as they're scrolling through, but also embedded in images. Now, it's not anything super fancy, but if you are working in WordPress or something of that sort, and you are, say, uploading images, and this is going to be the case across most website builders if you're using one, somewhere in their settings when you upload an image, this is WordPress here, you will have the ability to set alternative text or alt tags. And that is a way where Google can then understand what the image is about. So in this case, we would set the alt text to be something like green grass in front of property, or in this case, this is another thing you want to do is have good descriptive file names. Nothing super long, but just something where, again, Google is looking at these things to understand what the image is about. So in this case, we set it to banner cleaned up yard after service. That was the file name. So I would likely do something potentially similar for this image as the alt text. But again, the gist is you're trying to get the keywords in where you can, and because in the past, Google couldn't see what an image looked like and still can't for the most part. You want to have the alt text in here to let Google know, okay, this is what the image is about. And then from there, that could benefit your SEO as well and your ranking, because there may be keywords somewhere that may make sense. So keywords, page title and description, the image metadata, we consider that like the file name and the alt text. And then this is what we were talking about earlier, looking at potentially building pages for your services, for the service areas that you do. And this is, while it may be a little bit more costly and time consuming because you have to go in and build individual pages for each one. If I click on McKinney here, this would be what a page potentially looks like, and it doesn't have to look like this. But in this case, each page is unique. While it may have a similar structure, you can't just copy the text from your Plano page and just replace everything that says Plano with, say, Frisco or with, say, McKinney, because Google will flag you as duplicate content. So each of these pages need unique content. So it is a little bit more timely, and if you're hiring somebody, it's going to be a little bit more costly. But these pages are hugely beneficial. If we think way back in the day when Google was kind of just starting out and people were trying to figure out, okay, how do I game the system and get up in the search results? You would have people buying hundreds of domain names. So their name would be like Lawn Care Plano, Lawn Care McKinney, and they would have individual websites for each of the individual areas that they serve. That doesn't work anymore. Google nowadays doesn't really look at that, or they flag your website for just like spammy content. So nowadays, most people have gone away from that, pretty much everybody. So nowadays, what works is building little city pages underneath the same domain name. And this is really helpful because you can't always put enough keywords and have enough content on your front page here where it's going to rank perfectly everywhere. It's just not the case. Google's going to figure out, okay, your website or your front page performs the best when we show it in these search terms or for these search queries, not to get too technical there. But basically what people search in Google, Google has discovered that, hey, your page performs the best for this search term. So we're going to show it here. But for other search terms that may be similar, but they're probably for a different city, it's not going to perform as well there because they see people bouncing off the page, or also known as just quickly leaving. So they're looking at a bunch of different factors. So that is why it works really well to just get a bunch of city pages created and a bunch of service pages created, because you can optimize each page for that specific area. So now you have one website that now kind of sprawls its arms out to a bunch of different areas in Google, and it's going to perform better that way. Now, one thing that often gets forgotten about when we're talking about SEO is engagement. So engagement is very important. It's not all just down to keywords and letting Google know where you serve and what you do. It's also about making sure that Google sees that the people who land on your website actually find the answers that they need. We would call that usability or engagement. Google tracks something called bounce rate. That's a term that I had just used. And the bounce rate basically means the people who come to your website and leave after visiting one page, or leave pretty quickly after they click on your website. And that's an indication to Google that your website didn't quite solve the problem or answer the question that they have. So your website isn't giving them the content that they want. And Google's going to think, well, if that's the case, we're not going to promote this website as high in the search results next time. So they want to see websites that engage people, that catch people's attention. So something like this website does very well. It's kind of short and to the point. It holds their attention. It gets them to click throughout the website. You have these integrated maps where people can drag around and, kind of interact with things on the map. This is a great engaging website, especially as you click through and say go to the Meet Our Team page. You have videos, you have pictures of the team. If I go to About specifically, this is where they will have more images or videos. So finally the page loaded here, but here's a video that they have. So it's just creating content or adding content to the website that keeps people on the page to show Google that, hey, people are finding the things they need. They're sticking around for a while, and Google will ultimately push you higher and higher up the list, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do, or what Google's trying to do, is they want to serve the best content to the people using Google. And the websites who just get left, or people click on them and just don't find the things that they need, they want to push that further and further down the list. Now, as you are, say, doing keyword research and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be the keywords that I target, there is a really nice tool called Google AdWords, or the Google Keyword Planner. This is something you can use if you are going to be doing most of the SEO optimization on your website. This is a great tool to leverage because it can tell you exactly which keywords people are searching for the most. So if I was trying to optimize my website for, say, I have lawn care services in, say, Plano, Texas, McKinney, Frisco, things like that, I want to go in here and see, okay, lawn care, Plano, lawn care in Plano, Texas, because this is going to tell you what people are searching, and then you can take these keywords, figure out which ones are the best performing, and that's what you optimize for on your website. You're not having to guess. Google is telling you exactly what people are searching for in Google, and then you can optimize your website for that specific keyword. Now, the last thing that I should talk about, if you ever heard the term backlinks, this is something that's important because it shows Google that you're a high quality website that people link to, that you have valuable information that people are trying to share. And this will ultimately help you show Google that you have a lot of credibility. You are an authoritative source. So if you have people linking to your website and maybe you're linking back to other authoritative websites, this shows Google, like I've said, that you have valuable content and you have good credibility and people want to see the things that you're doing. So what you can do here is maybe you're just starting out, you're not entirely sure how to get backlinks, and ultimately it's not always going to work out if you go to a news channel and you're saying, hey, I have this content, why don't you link to me? Ultimately, the easiest things that you can do is just if you have some friends or some colleagues, or maybe you work with vendors who you trust, you can always go to them and say, hey, if you link to me, I'll link back to you, and create like a trusted vendors page on your website where Google can still find this page. It's not a hidden page somewhere on your website. But now you have people with potentially more established websites than you do linking to you, and you're linking back to them. And it just creates this network of backlinks that can help your SEO behind the scenes. So these are 6 things that you can do to your website to get more performance out of it, to rank higher in Google, and to, ultimately the goal is to get more people coming to it and generating more leads that way. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about this with you and answer some questions. But otherwise, I hope this was helpful.